Welcome to Sustainability Unveiled, the podcast that explores bold ideas and transformative solutions driving sustainability and business success. In this episode, we're thrilled to feature Justin Dring, a passionate entrepreneur, renewable energy advocate, and problem solver with over 25 years of experience in the energy sector. Justin has built a career on navigating complex challenges with innovative, tailored solutions, from fostering strategic business partnerships to spearheading large-scale renewable energy projects. His work embodies the perfect balance of sustainability and value. Justin is a pioneer in integrating advanced monitoring, metering, and IoT technologies, empowering businesses to reduce waste, optimize energy use, and thrive in a rapidly evolving energy landscape. Beyond his technical achievements, Justin is deeply committed to educating business leaders and advocating for renewable energy technologies to foster a sustainable future. Join us as we uncover insights from Justin's journey, explore strategies for resiliency in turbulent times, and discover what it takes to lead in the renewable energy revolution. This is Sustainability Unveiled, where sustainability meets leadership. Let's get started. Well, Justin, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be on with us. And I'd love for you just to give our audience a little bit about your background. You know, we can read about you on LinkedIn, so something else besides what we can read on LinkedIn, and then just some about your journey.
So I started at the grassroots of energy and engineering as an apprentice electrician. Managed to get a job straight from school as an electrician with a council. So that was a big jump into reality, seeing how other people live and out there fixing problems, and became an electrician pretty quick. So 4 years training there, really enjoyed that. But was hungry to get out and kind of try and make a name for myself, and ended up setting up my own business as an electrician. Built a small property company looking after properties as well as doing M&E work, electrical work over here, which is good and exciting. And that grew into quite a few members of staff. We had fun with that. And then we moved on because solar was starting. So started a solar company on the back of that, and yeah, had loads of fun. And some of the turbulent times hit us in the UK energy market with feed-in tariffs coming and going, and companies going bust. So in that instance, we had to close one of the solar companies that I was running, which was devastating. But we recovered. I went to work in a corporate environment for guys delivering commercial, so kind of dipped my toe into the commercial world, which was very, very interesting. Again, a kind of a awakening moment of going, wow, these guys move fast, they work hard, long hours, just like the lads in the SME market, just like the lads on the tools. Really enjoyed that. And then, eventually came out of that, built my own company again, and just exited from that last year. So, and now been consulting since then. So that's a whistle-stop tour of my journey.
Of your journey. Well, you have a vast experience, obviously, in different leadership roles. And so, really, how have you seen your transformation as a leader from your start, as an apprentice, learning the trade, and then building companies, working in the corporate world? What really has, continued your drive to want to help other companies and see what you can really bring to the table to help them be successful?
My leadership journeys, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you find out, oh, I'm leading now. I've got people following me, like people doing as I've done. And so as an apprentice, that got quite interesting when we weren't doing what we were supposed to be doing. When we were probably, you'd use the term goofing off, but we'd say that too. But you realize you've kind of got an influence that's beyond your role or your title on the sites. And that can be good or bad. You can lead people either way. So finding that out in that area was good and interesting. And yeah, then seeing that develop. So the kind of leadership element of, I've actually people do what I say, was I realized that at work, because people do what you do because you're paying them and you're the boss. But in the voluntary sector, when I've worked in there as well, and at the same time as being an electrician, I was also working in a voluntary organization, helping out with a band at the time it was. And you realize in that world you need a different style of leadership and a different way of leading people. So in that, it kind of was two different worlds, and it's always been two different worlds of some people will follow you because you're paying them and they have to follow you as the leader. Sometimes they'll follow you because your name's over the door. So in some circumstances, I've been the sole owner of the and runner of the business. And then in partnerships, sometimes you'll have people within the organization that will not do whatever you ask them to do. It doesn't matter how good a leader you are, whether you woo them or whether you demand and shout, or whether you come up with all these intricate bonus schemes for them to hit targets. Yeah, leadership is an interesting journey. And one I'm still learning. I'm still learning and still finding loads of stuff out.
And I think that's the case for anybody who's an entrepreneur. It's trial and error and pushing those boundaries and seeing really what you can accomplish individually, but with your team too. Now, I want to get back to focusing on sustainability, energy, innovation. So, really, what inspired you to get into this line of work besides just, being going to the apprentice school to be an electrician?
Oh yeah, so in the very very early years of in when payment, so they brought in what's called a feed-in tariff in the UK, where there was a big advertising campaign of like getting into solar and helping be sustainable, and this is a technology that's accessible, and I think as an electrician realizing, there's we can make a difference here if we start putting these solar panels on, but then actually I think what really struck home for me with sustainability and why I've stayed in energy, is primarily because when I was really young, like seeing nature and seeing the damage that we have had on our environment is you can see that in kind of your like we were on holiday as a family and snorkeling, and you can see all these beautiful fish and these beautiful colors, and you can see the damage like going snorkeling and enjoying holiday like 10 years later. You can see the difference in the environment. You can see miles of dead coral over in the Maldives and places like that. Like that's where I was when I seen all of that, and seeing those types of things impacted me, as because I want the world to be a better place. I want obviously we don't want to damage this environment that we've been given, and you can actively see that in light and pollution in loads and loads of different ways, and realizing that every solar panel that we put on is a tiny bit back of getting that, is tiny bit back of protecting that for our kids for the next 10 or 15 generations. So it really is more than just, and being in sustainability and being in energy and almost being on your soapbox and preaching carbon. It does get a bit repetitive, but it doesn't get any, you don't get any less passionate, because the environment still needs people to be standing up for it, still needs people to be championing the carbon, playing games with the kids, getting them to turn lights off. It's not because I'm a skinflint. It's not because I'm
I should
trying.
yeah, I should bring my husband in who's off from school today. The lights in the house, I'm
Hold
guilty of
on.
that too. But yeah, he's harping on the kids constantly about that.
But getting them enjoying
Yeah.
it and having some fun with it. Like, come on, boys, let's have a race so you can turn the most lights off. It's suddenly then getting them aware of it is a big part of having it. And it's the same in business.
Hmm.
Like, you can walk into the boardroom and they'll have the window open, the aircon on, and the heating on, and you're like, guys, what are you? And you can, because you
How
can
much for
sound.
yeah.
You can sound like a bat, like you're pointing and telling people off, but actually you're just there going like, let's just turn our brains on. Let's like a kid, go turn a light switch off. Let's have some fun with it.
Okay. No, I like that. Yes. And relatable, and you're getting your kids involved, and I'm sure that what you do in your professional life does transcend to your personal life too, and having those conversations with your kids, which obviously is something, if you are a listener to the show, we do talk about the bridging the gap between different generations, which is, one of our main focuses of this company. Um, you're based in England,
Yep.
and I know you do a lot of work in England consulting, but you've also worked in other countries. You've worked abroad. So, how have you had to adjust your leadership style to different cultural differences within these countries that you are working with or consulting in?
Oh, it's massively different. So the I'd say the common thread, the kind of starter point is the kind of ethic and the kind of weight that people feel on energy efficiencies, and like everything around sustainability and helping their environment. They've all got a similar core value, but how that is led and how that's worked out is very, very different in different communities. So, for example, I got the honor of working over in Africa, consulting on an off-grid project over there. Very, very exciting. It was a mini grid. It was kind of cutting edge at the time we were doing it, and it was leading the guys in that environment, of helping them be safe, helping them hit their targets, as well as them to get the kit working. So because I'm an engineer at heart, and because of my experience back in the day, when I turn up on a site and there's guys struggling to deliver sustainable resource, and these off-grid systems, that you can't help yourself but kind of not just stand and write a report, that's one thing, but then to go and help them. But you can't walk across and almost come out of your lane to go and tell somebody what to do. It does take that leadership of going, oh, hang on a minute, I know how to lead in British culture, which is one thing, but then hang on, I'm in Africa. How do I now relate to this person? How do I make sure we were speaking the same language, English, but obviously speaking the same language as in their values, and how they work, and how you still get the high quality work out of those guys, as well as communicating the value of, right, yes, we could go home now because it's that time, but you've only got me for so long. Let's stay. So communicating and helping that shift and that pivot of leading people into producing better results, through communication and connection. And you know what, like, we had a good laugh, and the guys that were on those sites were flipping hard working men and women, absolutely brilliant team over there delivering projects, and relent when they hit the sweet spot of drive and everybody's pulling together. They're relentless when they realize you're not against them. Because a lot of the time, as an engineer, you can sometimes come across, because we know enough to be dangerous. We know enough to be lethal. But we can come across as a know-it-all. And actually, we're not in the roles that we get put in. When we can sometimes come across as that know-it-all, but it's our role as a leader to change that hat from English culture to African culture, and be able to communicate, hey, this is the way we need to do this to be safe. But then on the same hand, we need to get this finished, and trying to communicate that. It's exciting and fun, and it translates into other cultures as well. So working in different parts of Africa, again, the culture changes. We had one engineer that traveled for like 30 odd hours on the back of a bus just so that he could work with the team that was there. So there's kind of there's chalk and cheese with people as well, even within culture, which is really exciting. And the fact that we get to do energy and get to do leadership, it's great. It's great getting to do both at the same time. So yeah,
It's wonderful.
very tricky, very tricky.
And I can see, and I'm sure our audience will see too, just how passionate you are about the work you do. And obviously, it's not all, sunshine. So, what, talk to me a little bit about some of the obstacles that you've had to face
Okay.
as a leader, internationally, but also, home in England, and how you addressed, the obstacles, how you worked through them, and, just some of the differences there.
Yeah. So some of the turbulences are with people. I find it's either an internal turbulence or an external turbulence. So with leading a team and leading a group of individuals, whether UK or anywhere, they if somebody's coming to you with a series set of engineering problems, and the person has got a problem, so there's an internal storm. That could be anything from the payslip was wrong to they got out of the bed the wrong side, the bus was late. There's almost seeing the person behind the engineering problem that's coming to you. And as a leader in engineering world, it's very easy for us to put the helmet on or to put the suit on and lead on. But actually, if we hear the person behind the problem, we'll get a better solution out of that person and a better drive from them, because we've actually heard and understood there's an internal it's not just all of these, not just the materials haven't turned up on time. The quality or the quantity isn't right for this project, or we've run out of solar panels on a job we were supposed to have 1,000 and we've got 800. Those types of fun things. If you see past the person and see past the problem and hear if there's those two internal and external things that are tricky to lead with and tricky to work with, and sometimes it does go wrong. So I've been in a partnership agreement where we've been running a business together, and both of us were super passionate about leading for a better future, super passionate about saving the planet. Both of us like really resonated with each other in the area of call, so in what we wanted to do, but then how we wanted to get there was very different. So I wanted to build men and build teams and system and process, whereas my partner at the time in business, he wanted to scale a business, to sell it and move on and develop in the sales and in moving into acquiring other businesses. So that was a time when you're 50-50, it's very difficult to keep a team underneath you motivated to deliver projects on time, to be customer facing. Everything's okay. It's almost like everything's okay, but my bosses are falling out. So it's like one of those really, the team could sense that there was a change coming. They knew that we were heading in different directions. And leading in that change is keeping the team right and finishing projects right in front of the clients and in front of what was going on, but then also being true to like letting him finish his race in his lane. And I think the mutual understanding when companies do that, and when individuals and leaders do that, and realize that the relationship grows and develops, and actually it's okay for business leaders to grow apart within organizations, because one of the things as a leader is sometimes just people follow you. I've had team follow me through three of those companies. I've had one or two guys that have followed me every step of the way, and it's not because I've gone back and poached them. It's because they've gone, hey, where are we working? And I'm like, we're designing now, mate. We're not doing that anymore. And they just want to be, once you've won somebody and you've helped them through their problems and you've run out of problem, you've got that journey with that person, then you've almost won them to a point of they're more than just an employee. They're more than just turning up for a paycheck. They're turning up to, they want to be with you and fight your battles and help you with your problems, and that's a really interesting thing. So when you do have division and you've got two guys going in two directions, even though we both had different relationships with guys on both teams at the same time, it was very interesting. And do you know what? Looking back, it was tough at the time, but now with that greater knowledge of going, hey, we led our teams well through that, because the business has carried on. He's carried on running the business. He's carried on running both of them and keeping the teams together. He lost a few of the guys, but do you know what? Like, everybody's better off for it. He's getting to build the business that he wanted. He's getting to go in the direction that he wanted, and I'm getting to do the things that I needed to do. So it's an interesting thing. Just leading through those times is very interesting.
It definitely is. And it requires, leadership in forming a sense of trust within your team. So how do you think you and your former partner were able to establish the trust that is needed to have projects continue during the turbulent time, as you mentioned, when you guys were splitting and going into different directions?
So we made an active decision of doing I will step back. I'll let you take the reins of this and this. And the beauty of at the time we timed it that I was able to pass on, and so we'd trained and developed to about 26 internal staff on our side of the business to be able to deliver projects, and they had their checklists, they had their systems and processes. So for them, it was business as usual. It was just the top seat wasn't there. The phone, I wonder what we should do about this problem. Where's Justin? That phone call was going, do you know what? He's not around. I'll call the other guy. So because we'd set everything up so well, down to the process of buy-in, the process of approaching a problem, the process of delivering a solution, whether it be a energy saving one, a metering one, a monitoring one, a solar, whatever we were doing at the time, that doesn't matter. It's the process, isn't it? That then the team could anchor themselves in, we're all right, it's business as usual. We've got projects. My partner kept the business flowing, he kept more leads coming in, so he kept the team moving and developing, which was great, which was absolutely great. So it's the trust and the faith in each other in those moments, and you only get that through having built 3 4 years of solid, like, late nights in the office, long drives together. You know each other. You know each other at that point. That he's got this. He's got this. He's gonna look after this, because they are family at that point. That he's gonna look after this group that we've grown. So yeah, it's good. It's interesting. It's an interesting time. Great question.
Yeah. So really, the foundation of any relationship is communication and having effective communication. And it seems like that you really have established. So do you have a blueprint for what worked for you in terms of passing that on to other companies, or what you use as go into different consultancy roles?
Do you know what? Because everybody's so different, it flips and changes. So because of the different personality types that you've got, it really does, like, it does matter what personality types are leading teams. I've with personal development, we used to sit down with our team leaders and get them to do their personal assessment so they could work out how they fitted together. But every situation is different, because people have got different skill sets. So in my role at the moment, I can come across companies that are brilliant at sales and got no operational sense, and then I come across companies that have got the ability to deliver millions of pounds worth of product or of service, but really struggle to sell. So it's really in energy. It's really interesting, especially in the UK, because it's an industry where guys have grown doing what they do best. So you may have an electrician that's amazing at fitting boilers, or amazing at CHP, or amazing at air source heat, and he's out there all day, every day doing that. But then when he comes to sell it, it's another. They're not used to that. So there's all these different things going off, and there's so much. The scope for solar in the UK at the minute is massive. So it's almost like a free for all. There's so much work. There's only five. We've only done 5% of our roofs, so
That's, I remember,
that's
yeah,
the real number. Like
when
between
we
5 and 8%.
yeah, when we met talking about this, and it's just so interesting to see the differences between, the United States talking to you and the UK, and the role of solar. So obviously it's a very exciting trend. that solar is increasing in the UK. But what else can you tell our audience about, the level of solar, not just residential, but commercial too, and what excites you the most about, the next 5 to 10 years?
It's so the UK is really, really interesting. So there's so many. Our utility is broken up into different DNOs, network operators that look after different sections of the country. And all of them have got kind of a different set of rules and a different process for getting projects through. So in certain areas of the UK, you can come up with a project, a couple of megawatts on a roof or a couple of megawatts in a field, or even quite a large commercial installation. And the national grid in that location will help you, or are really like their process is slick. They're fast at getting back to you. They'll quote and say, yes, you can turn this much power on here, or hey, we need to limit you. So the market's really exciting in some of those areas. In others of those areas, it's a little bit slow. Now, I'm not going to name them,
Of
but
course not.
some of them are a little bit slow, and a little bit. If I said the old boys club, you'd know what I meant. Kind of that kind of remit, and it's tricky. Hey, you've got so many different solar companies, so many different developers, all rolling out different schemes. I think some of the really interesting stuff in the UK is utility scale battery. We're seeing that getting deployed quite a lot at the moment. There's quite a lot in planning. So our network operators have actually said regarding battery, if it's over a megawatt, we need to there's a massive waiting queue. And they almost do a first come first serve with the projects. So your project has got to be ready to go. They call it spade ready, don't they? So that development has literally got to be ready to hit the road running, because that capacity agreement, the availability of power on a grid, because our grid's ancient. We got Victorian cables still running in some places. Don't tell anyone. But that's because we're an old country, and because
Hmm.
like some of our roads we can't dig them up. Do you know what I mean? We can't do certain things in certain locations. So rolling out an EV network is really tricky, because you got to find those little spots on the grid that have got the available headroom, have got the available capacity, and the appetite for somebody to pay to put one in that location, because some places don't get the footfall for an EV. So you've got guys wanting to develop in city centres, and the restraint and the pull that puts on the national grid, and then you've got guys wanting to deliver battery scale solutions, utility scale solutions, which are all over the country. They tend to be out in the sticks by the 11 to 33, like by the really big transformers, and they out of sight, out of mind. But they are providing grid balancing because of our increase in EVs.
Hmm.
So it's a really interesting, and there's so many different voices in the UK energy market of the national grid guys needing more money for infrastructure, and the installers of solar, small scale, medium scale, saying we're not paying for it, alongside the government trying to say we're going to do this new green bill, and we're going to do this and this for feed-in tariff or export tariff. So it's really that. So turbulent times, so leading in turbulence is exactly that. You've got clients who want to deliver renewable, want to one of my clients wants to have a full fleet of EVs, wants to have a full building wants to be carbon negative, and the grid in his area can't take it. And he's hearing all three voices at the same time. So he's hearing the government say, yes, we want to invest, and a strong business case from our government saying we're green, we want to go this direction. You've also at the same time got the national grid saying we can't deliver this because of restraints in your area, because
Hmm.
we've got things to improve, at the same time as then the installer going, well, we can deliver this and this product, but only in these time scales. So you do have that turbulence of giving him the right advice, helping him through finding him the right financial solution, never mind the right
Mhm.
product to fit those three things. And then the client might ask you about future proofing, and you're like, well, which conversation should we listen to here? Um,
Yes.
so it is, do you know what? Like leading in turbulence, and so developing a sales team in this environment is exciting, because you need to teach the ability for them to pivot in even in a presentation, or even in a consultative role with a client, or with a developing an installer. It's a really interesting time in energy in the UK. And there is so much opportunity with it within that as well.
So I want to go back because there's a lot that you just said. I want to go back to when you mentioned the good old boys club, the ones that might be a little bit slower to get on board. So how do you work with them? How do you make the business case for, this group of individuals to really buy in to solar and the new technologies and not just have it be status quo?
So yeah, it's a really that's a really good one. That's a really great question. So with um when you've got a client, or you're developing a team that's delivering something to that kind of environment, it is very, very interesting. So educating those types of that kind of group, those people with that mindset, is very, very difficult and quite challenging. What we've found is speaking their language. So in that environment, and I know we don't want to get any negative here, but if I said that was a kind of a typical small to medium farmer, so they are out in the sticks. If they're going to put solar on, they're going to have to reinforce their grid. So they are slow to respond to a good idea, a good offering. Yet some of them are running generators because they can't upgrade their mains, or upgrade the loop, or they're producing milk, and they've got all those types of things to deal with. So if we're dealing with one of those types of scenarios, it really is the numbers. It really,
Mhm.
like, they're speaking the numbers, speaking like, you're spending this much, we can save you this much. Looking at the wider option of communicating that in a way that they understand, of this is almost like you a year's profit on your milk, or your eggs, or your whatever that element is in that respect. You also bump into that archetypal, that kind of personality trait, in heavy industry, and in commercial engineering as well, where they've always done it this way, and there's no way they're going to look at putting anything on their roof. And again, the numbers talk. You don't need to wait for a change of leadership within an organization. When you've got a company that's, if they had this solution, it would save them £40,000 a year. Or if they had this solution with a massive company, it could save them 300,000 £400,000 a year. Then every month counts. So then you break it down to every day you're losing this amount of money
Mhm.
out your door. And the be real, or let's not play, is also very useful. And also, like, with if you're leading a team of salesmen or engineers, or when you've got salesmen and engineers communicating CHPs and stuff like that, like pulling them in and going, hey, if that's not going to go, let's not waste internal resource on chasing something that is just going to die. If they've not got the inner desire, if there's an opportunity that you can't qualify, then walk away. If it's not got a qualifying
Mhm.
criteria if there's genuinely no desire to be green,
Yep.
to jump on our bandwagon, to come and save the planet with us, then we can't force them
No.
onto the bus. We can't, and there's no point manipulating them onto the bus, or arguing. If you argue
No.
somebody in, they'll get argued out. There's no point.
No, exactly. All you can do is provide the data and the evidence and be transparent with them. And ultimately it's a decision that they have to make as either a small business or medium size or a large company. So I like that you do have experience working with different size businesses. And I know we've been having this conversation now for a long time, and I'm really enjoying sitting down with you to learn more about, what it takes to be a leader through turbulent times and how your experience has really shaped, the companies that you have formed, as well as, the workers, the employees that you've had with you. But looking back, what do you think has been the most rewarding part of your career?
That's a brilliant one. So the most rewarding thing. So I'm walking down the high street. I'm walking down the high street in central Manchester it was. And I hear somebody shout my name, and I recognize the voice as being the voice of one of my apprentices from years and years and years ago. And I turn around, and there is Liam running down the street in all of his gear, in all of his electrician's gear, gives me a big hug and says, "Hey, Justin, thank you." And I say, "What for, mate? Like, I've not seen you in years. Like, I've seen him on Facebook. He got married and stuff like that, and he won't mind me using his name." And he'd set up his own. He'd become an electrician underneath me years and years ago, and seeing him develop into being a running a great company, like looking after some guys of his own, servicing clients, like delivering projects, and then just getting the thank you. Money's one thing, isn't it? Like yeah,
Mhm.
it's great to have money, but a thank you goes so much further. And I think that was probably one of my defining moments of doing it, and probably one of my superpower moments of in turbulent times when I need to fix myself on something, going, "Hey, remember
You
that guy
remember.
running down the street?" Those staff are worth it. Those tough conversations of, "Please up your game. Come on, please be on time. Please get finished on time. Please submit your forms." It's worth those awkward conversations to get a lad running down the street, what, 15, 20 years later, saying thank you for telling me off, and thank you for looking after me, and thank you for training me. So yeah, that's there's a few of those types of guys around, and occasionally when you bump into them, it is you get a really proud moment.
Oh, I'm sure you do. So, I mean, obviously the work that you did with him inspired him to start his own business. So what advice do you have for emerging leaders, or, people who are, I say kids, but late teenagers, early 20s, who are really navigating the major challenges of deciding what they're going to go into, or, those who want to jump in and start their own companies?
Oh, do you know what? I'd say go for it. Like there's so much learning to do. Don't get stuck in paralysis analysis. Don't get stuck analyzing everything. It's much easier to turn a moving ship. So I'd say go for it. Go for it. Try, have a go. One of my mentors growing up would always say, "Have a go, you mug," and I'm still having a go. So that's and that never wears out. Take people with you. So Liam, the young lad that ran up the street, said thank you. Like, if you take people with you on the journey, a leader off by himself's an idiot on a walk. So a leader's got followers. So let's, like, taking people with you, massively, massively important. Even if it's not even employed, but just with you in the journey of, like, finding those people doing business alongside you at the same time. It can be in completely different businesses. One of my close friends is a plumber, and he's been doing his thing in his lane, and we still get on, even now, with me doing what I do and him doing what he does.
Mhm.
It's those types of champion people that champion you, is really important. And I'd say, yeah, I think having the allowing people to give you their best advice at the right time. So there's listening to people, and not being scared to ask, "Oh, what would you have done differently?" You can avoid 20 years, 10 years. So be teachable is what I'm trying to
Mhm.
focus on. Because as a 18 to 35, 18 to 20, we watch a lot of YouTube, and that can teach us a lot. But there's guys out there, 35, 45, guys in the industry, old boys that have been selling for years, and a 5-minute conversation with them can literally remove miles of minefield. They remove you getting in trouble with the bank or you getting in trouble with the tax man. Just those 5 minutes. So I've probably got about 5 or 6 guys that even now, even yesterday, I was sending one of them a proposal I'm doing. Hey, he's been retired a long time, yet he can still pick holes in something that is kind of, in my world, cutting edge. In his world, it's just bricks and mortar, lad. So yeah, having those relationships and still staying teachable.
Fantastic lessons to leave our audience with. Well, Justin, I hope this is not the last time that we are going to have a conversation, because we'd love to have you on again and continue the conversation and check back in with you. But thank you so much for being a part of Sustainability Unveiled. We really do appreciate all of the leadership and guidance that you shared today.
Ask yourself, how can I contribute to a brighter, more sustainable future, not just personally, but professionally? Let's embark on this journey together and shape the landscape of sustainable leadership for tomorrow. Take the first step now and make a commitment to lead with sustainability in mind. That's all for this episode of Sustainability Unveiled. Join us next time as we continue exploring the forefront of sustainable business practices. Until then, stay informed, stay sustainable.